Auspicious occasion of 127th birth anniversary of Baba Saheb Ambedkar, I pay my floral tribute to the architect of modern India, Baba Saheb Dr. Bhimrao Ambedkar. Professor Vice Chancellor of the University, Rector 3 of the University, Professor Kale, former Vice Chancellor of CUG, and Professor R.K. Kuril, former Vice Chancellor of Baba Saheb Ambedkar University, Mahu, my friends on the dais and off the dais, colleagues, students, and dear Karmacharis. It is really a historical moment for this university to celebrate Baba Saheb Ambedkar's birth anniversary as a university program. I think Professor Kale is there. I think, sir, for the first time we are celebrating this as a university program, and that's why I congratulate you, sir, for giving this opportunity to come together. Thank you so much. Well, as the title of the program goes, that Baba Saheb Ambedkar's contribution in nation building, I think there are people in the audience and on the dais, they know better. They know more what I can reveal, but I will make few points before I come to my topic. One is that why one should celebrate Baba Saheb Ambedkar's birth anniversary in a university. Why it should be celebrated in a university. And I think I have an answer. There may be many vantage points. One is very important aspect, that his life tells us that how education can be used for emancipation of nation. I think that's one of the most important contribution which his life tells us, that how education cannot be only consumed for own career, but it can be used in better way for the emancipation of nation, and that's why we should celebrate Baba Saheb Ambedkar in a university. I think that's one of the take which I get in the morning when I get up in the university. The second aspect is, of course, that we are celebrating Baba Saheb Ambedkar in the university. I think we should also try to evaluate what has happened with his personality in the history. How has he been evaluated? How has he been looked upon in the 60-70 years of our independence? And one of the important aspects which I get as a scholar, and of course looking in researches, that Baba Saheb Ambedkar has been victim of reductionism and also sometimes stigmatization. Therefore, it needs that we should decode Baba Saheb Ambedkar again. And what is this reductionism? I think yesterday Prime Minister was also telling that yes, he has been only reduced as a Dalit leader, and that's what my friend historian Hiraman Tiwari is also sitting. We can look into the history text, the whole historical production which has taken place has only looked from a particular vantage point. And that's why I think I should congratulate the organizers of the program, that at least they have taken the debate ahead. They have taken the discourse ahead. And now they are trying to look into contribution in the process of nation building. So his contribution as a leader who has contributed in the process of nation building has a very new dimension, and I think that we have to look into decoding. So from reductionism only to as a Dalit leader, even people have problem when he was called as the chief architect of the Indian Constitution. And if you remember Arun Shauri worshipping the false god, how he tried to criticize Baba Saheb Ambedkar, that no, he was not the chief architect, there were some else. And I am forced that why we call Baba Saheb Ambedkar as the chief architect of the Indian Constitution. Let me give you this one data to prove the point. One, that when the draft constitution came for debate, there were 7,635 amendments. 7,635 amendments. Baba Sahib Ambedkar, as the chairman of the drafting committee, read all those 7,635 amendments, and out of that, he discarded 5,162 amendments and incorporated 2,473 amendments. Can you really imagine the Herculean task one does? Reading 7,635 amendments is not a child's play, and then you don't even accept it. I counted the debates. I counted the debate in which, the assembly debates, how many times Baba Sahib Ambedkar rose in one day to speak. And there were ordinary days when he was getting up and speaking 8 or 9 times in a day in the Constituent Assembly. But there were extraordinary days when he stood for 25 to 26 times to defend one amendment or a clause. This is the time, this is the contribution which he made in the making of Indian Constitution, and yet the academia has not accepted his contribution as the chief architect of the Indian Constitution. That's why, sir, we want to decode Baba Sahib Ambedkar today in 21st century. And that's why I think it's important to understand his contribution in the process of nation building. That is where I think we look into. The second aspect of this is that even after he being celebrated world over, as different epithets have been used for him, why again and again Indian academia tries to reduce him? That is what I am intrigued. And as a scholar, I'm reminded of his felicitation which he was granted by Columbia University. I will like to read at least 4 or 5 adjectives which were used for him and which Indian academia doesn't use. And therefore, there is this one. Allow me to read this felicitation. Bhimrao Ramji Ambedkar, receiving the doctorate in political science, subsequently a student the Inns of the course of the University of London, obtaining a doctorate in economics, for the past 3 decades a barrister, university professor, as a framer of the Constitution, one of the India's leading citizens, a great social reformer, and a valiant upholder of human rights. These are few qualities which are reminded to us by a university which is 6,000 kilometers away from here. But in our universities, he is only dealing with caste, annihilation of caste, origin of caste, as if that he has not done anything. I think, therefore, it's opportune time that we as an academician engage with him in his larger ideas. The larger ideas and his educational qualification. Historian Perry Anderson has just written a very fantastic book which has been criticized by Indian authors. Indian scholars have criticized vehemently that text. Why? Because, I think so, he celebrates Ambedkar. Let me read few lines for him also. He says, it would be unfair to compare Nehru to Ambedkar. Intellectually, head and shoulder above most of the Congress leaders, in part due to far more serious training in LSE and Columbia. To read him is to enter in a different world altogether. His references range from Renan to Acton, from his description range from Canada, Ireland, Switzerland, and France. And this stand a devastating indictment to the intellectual poverty of the Congress and their leaders. This is the way he is being celebrated. Recently, a very good book has come where 14 social scientists from all over the world have gathered, and they have compared his views of subalternity with the Gramscian view of subalternity, who is an intellectual from Italy. Now, in this manner, if you look into gradual arrival of Baba Sahib Ambedkar, he is not evolving from within. I have yet to read a text where his whole ideas are being celebrated. Rather, recent book, even a social science, literary personality like Arundhati Roy only restricts him to caste or annihilation of caste and start comparing with Gandhi. I am intrigued that why at all Ambedkar cannot be evaluated independently on his own. When I was watching, his blackout, Ambedkar's blackout, not only reductionism, blackout, when I was watching this film Gandhi by Richard Attenborough, a film which is of course very celebrated on every 2nd of October. You can see on any television, and it was produced for 200 crores. 200 crores for the budget. But when I was watching that film, Ambedkar was not at all there. He was completely blacked out from Gandhi. You can say, why should it be Ambedkar there? But when I watch Ambedkar by Jabbar Patel, I see Gandhi present everywhere. If Ambedkar is not relevant in Gandhi, how can Gandhi be relevant in Ambedkar? Either he is wrong or they are wrong. I think that's where the blackout, not only in the academia, but also in the cultural realm, in the intellectual realm, is writ large, and that's why it's important and this 21st century that Babasaheb Ambedkar should be decoded. And therefore, I have titled the paper itself as Decoding Babasaheb Ambedkar. Now, the fourth aspect is that even the course material, as we are seeing actually, that how course material is being taught, and more often than not, in Delhi University, now he has been included, friends are sitting who teach Babasaheb Ambedkar, when the questions come, they come in optional. Optionality is there. Humiliation, blackout and optionalism. This is the process which is going on. You ask Ambedkar in optional, so that people can read also, he is there also, and he is not engaged and he is not actually reflexive. He cannot be debated in the classroom. So that is another ploy. Now, therefore, friends, I think at this juncture, let us look into Babasaheb Ambedkar's contribution which he has made in the process of nation building. And here, I am reminded of his intellectual contributions which he made in the process of nation building. One of the very important, very critical statement which he made in 1948 and so on, that India is not a nation. India is not a nation, it is nation in the making. Why is India not a nation? Ambedkar argued that a population divided in thousands of castes cannot be a nation. And therefore, you have to annihilate the caste if you really want to make a nation. That means why castes are anti-national? That's what he was trying to argue. Why castes are anti-national? Because caste creates animosity. Caste creates jealousy. Caste try to exclude people from performing their own activities. There is no freedom of opportunity because of caste, and therefore caste has to be annihilated before India become a nation. But I think that was only for Hindus he was talking about. What about Muslims? He said that whether Muslims and Hindus are a nation, he said not at all. Their antecedents, their history is a history of animosity. There is a history of conflict. In religion, some people revere Gita, some revere Ramayana, they revere Quran and Hadith. In hero worship, they revere Prithviraj Chauhan and they revere Mir Kashim. How can there be a unified collective social solidarity which will be called as a nation? And therefore, India has to do something. It is in this context that he gave a definition. What is a nation then? If India is not a nation, it is a conglomeration of the population which is having conflicting interests, conflicting ideas, then how is a nation to be absolved, and therefore we need to look into the definition. And he quotes Ernest Renan. Let me just give you a few points that how and why a nation has to be there. A nation is a living soul, a spiritual principle. A nation is a living soul. It is a living soul, it is a spiritual principle. Two things constitute the soul of the spiritual principle. The living soul is the past. The living soul is the past, and the spiritual principle is the present. One is common possession of a rich heritage of memories of the other things which we have done into the past. And the second thing is the desire to live together. Whether really we have a desire to live together, I think that is the question. The fraternity, the question of fraternity, भाईचारा, वो वाला भाईचारा नहीं, हम तो आपको भाई समझे, आप हमको चारा, तो हो चुका भाईचारा, वो वाला भाईचारा नहीं. Now it is in this context, the nation like an individual is the outcome of long past effort and the sacrifices and devotion. Such are the essential conditions of the making. People do not even consider that Dalits, the ex-untouchables, have really made contribution in the process of nation building. Nobody counts their labor. Nobody counts their contribution. Still, 45% of India's birth take place with the help of midwives. Midwifery role played by a Dalit woman in the villages. And yet, their contribution is not counted. So, as regard to national memories, Baba Saheb argued, moorings are worth more than the triumphs. Moorings are more worthy than the triumphs because moorings impose duties and they demand common effort. So if we really want to make a nation, there has to be a common effort. That common effort can only be contributed once people are included. And it is here the second principle of making of Baba Saheb Ambedkar comes. That how will you evolve a nation? Evolving a nation is by including the excluded communities. And excluded communities for him were at least three very important groups. One, of course, the untouchable, ex-untouchables. Today they are known as scheduled caste, the scheduled tribes, and women and minorities. These are very important groups which were excluded because of the structural location in the society. And that's why they have to be included. Now, one can ask why they have to be included. Why? We understand their pain. We understand their agony. We understand their aspirations. We are representing them. Why you want their representation? Baba Saheb Ambedkar in 1919 in Southborough Committee argued that a good government is a government which does not only represents the aspirations of the people. केवल आकांक्षाओं का प्रतिनिधित्व करने वाली सरकार ही अच्छी सरकार नहीं होती. Swapratiநிதித்துவ, self-representation is also necessary. And why self-representation is necessary? Baba Saheb Ambedkar argued self-representation is necessary because the institutions of the government, they are the places to harness the capacity and capability of the individuals. अपनी क्षमताओं और अपनी योग्यताओं को पुरस्कृत करने के लिए, मांझने के लिए सरकारी तंत्र, जितने भी प्रकार के सरकारी तंत्र हैं, उनमें प्रतिनिधित्व दिया जाना जरूरी है. If you really want to make a nation, a democratic nation, then the people from the excluded communities should be included in the institution. And again, why they should be included? Here, the second answer comes by Baba Saheb Ambedkar. He said that if a ruling elite, एक ruling elite जो है, वो लगातार राज करता रहेगा. अगर एक जो ruling elite है, if he is keep on ruling, then he will remain the king always. And the ruled will be the subject. then how democracy will issue? So those who are subject, they should also get the opportunity to frame the laws. Then and then only the things will become more democratic. Otherwise, one will always be ruler and other will always be ruled. एक हमेशा राजा रहेगा, दूसरा रंक. अगर वास्तविकता में ये प्रजातांत्रिक माहौल बदलना है, तो जो रंक हैं उनको भी रूल बनाने की इजाजत होनी चाहिए, तब राष्ट्र इमर्ज करेगा. The third aspect, why you should be giving self-representation. Baba Saheb Ambedkar quoted Gopal Krishna Gokhale. Gopal Krishna Gokhale had submitted a petition to a British government at that time, British government which was ruling at that time, and British government, Gopal Krishna Gokhale said, British government, sir, you are not giving us representation. In British government, there is no Indian representation, and because of that, Indians are losing their total manhood. They are losing their capacities and capabilities. वो अपने पूर्ण पौरुष को प्राप्त नहीं कर पा रहे हैं. उनकी कल्पनाशीलता, उनकी उपयोगिता और योग्यता का क्षय हो रहा है. Baba Saheb drew a straight line that look, British government is ruling only for 150 years. And within 150 years you are saying that you are losing your total manhood? You are losing your capacity and capability? What about Dalits? You have not given them representation for thousands of years. What about their capability and capacities? And therefore, friends, I think this is a moral question also. Moral question also that Dalits should be given self-representation. Self-representation in the institutions of governance, in the institutions of production, in the institution of education. Then and then only a nation, a strong nation of the Baba Saheb Ambedkar, which he envisaged in his writing and his speeches. And I'm not speaking on my own. It is Baba Saheb Ambedkar who wanted self-representation. And that is where I think Baba Saheb Ambedkar said that self-representation is a process of nation building. And that's where reservation also becomes. He did not use the term reservation. He was talking about representation. Representation is important process of reservation. But what has happened? Over the years, the politics has created and reduced representation as a process of reservation. And reservation has been used further as poverty alleviation program. And people ask that, "Arey, hum bhi to poor hain," and therefore reservation should be given on the economic basis. But that is not the basis for which reservations and representation emerged. Representation emerged because people were excluded for thousands of years in this structure. And therefore a compensatory effort was to be made that look, these people are not being given representation, therefore there should be there. And we are proud that our university has started giving representation. And of course, we are the best university in the country. But what is happening? What is going to happen? The future of representation. I think that where I think it's important to look into. Last point which I'd like to make that yes, Baba Saheb did not only argue for representation as a process of nation building, but also how to keep the nation's unity and integrity alive. That was also he gave and prescribed. And that's why he did not like unconstitutional measures. Unconstitutional measures of dharna and protection. Baba Saheb decried that we should not retort to unconstitutional means for pressurizing our demands. But he also argued that yes, India should inculcate in itself constitutional morality. संवैधानिक नैतिकता का नितांत अभाव है. There are very few who will like to respect, though people take pledge in the name of the constitution, and yet when it comes to implementation of the constitution, it is missing. And therefore, I think at this juncture, when we are celebrating Baba Saheb Ambedkar in the academic arena, I think, these important aspects of constitutional morality. Baba Sahib argued that it is not necessary to change the constitution. You don't need to change the constitution. The only thing is that you don't implement it. You can make constitution ineffective by not implementing the clauses. Not necessary to change the constitution. And for an effective constitution to be implemented, a compatible bureaucracy, judiciary is required, which somewhere is missing. So it is not only the process of nation building which arrive from the individuals, but there are constitution. And therefore he argued when he was asked, what is a constitution? Sir, whether the constitution will hold the test of the time? Baba Sahib argued that, what is a constitution? Constitution gives you institutions of governance, of judiciary. But it is up to you how you will implement, how will you operationalize those institutions. If you are not ready to operationalize the institution in their letter and spirit, then constitution cannot do nothing. And therefore, howsoever bad a constitution is, if the people who are running are good, a bad constitution will turn out to be good constitution. A constitution, however good it may be, but people who are running are bad, it will turn out to be a bad constitution. So the constitution doesn't make any difference. The people's constitutional morality, their commitment, their emancipatory agenda, I think those are the values with which Baba Sahib Ambedkar should be revered. And it is here that I would like to end that whether Baba Sahib Ambedkar was a great personality or not, I will like to test this case on 3 principles which Baba Sahib Ambedkar gave for testing a great person. Who is a great person? He was not talking about a great person with a sword, Alexander the Great, not at all. He was not at all talking about a great person like Lion in the King, no. As a human being, as a citizen who is a great personality, and he gave 3 very important qualities for differentiating between great personality with the famous personalities. प्रसिद्ध व्यक्ति और महान व्यक्तियों के अंदर अंतर करते हुए, he said that 3 qualities. 1, individuals should have knowledge. Without knowledge, nobody can be. I'm not saying literacy. He did not say that literacy. No, knowledge. And knowledge can be had without university or with university. You can be here, but you may not be knowledgeable. You can only be reading. You can be literate. So knowledge is one of the most important criteria for a person to be great. But this will not make a person great. So the second aspect of great person is that knowledge with morality. Morality is the second characteristics of a person to be great. Naitikta. Morality, knowledge can be misused. Not all laws can misuse. But if you have morality, then it will be used. It will not be misused. But that will also not make a great person, knowledge and morality. No, you can sit down at home. You have knowledge and you have morality and you can sit down at home. Who will say? Baba Sahib Ambedkar was asked कि अगर बाबा साहब लौट के ना आए होते, उन्होंने शिक्षा ली और वहीं पर बस गए होते तो क्या होता? लोगों ने कहा नहीं, बाबा साहब लौट के आते और घर में बैठ के होते तो क्या होता? तो यहां पर तीसरा प्रश्न आया. बाबा साहब argued that it is not only morality and education which makes a person great, but this education has to be used with morality to scourge and scavenge the stagnation in the society, the problem of the society. जब आप अपनी शिक्षा को नैतिकता के साथ समाज के अंदर पड़े हुए सड़ांध को, पड़े हुए डिकेडेंट कल्चर को, उसको उत्थानात्मक दिशा के लिए प्रयोग करते हैं, तब एक व्यक्ति महान बनता है. और इसलिए महान व्यक्ति प्रसिद्ध व्यक्ति से अलग होता है. सचिन तेंदुलकर और अमिताभ बच्चन can be famous, but they cannot be great. And even then Indian government has given them Bharat Ratna. You imagine Bharat Ratna to Sachin Tendulkar and Bharat Ratna to Baba Sahib Ambedkar. Can you imagine? And therefore I think as a criticality, these three characteristics, if you put on Baba Sahib Ambedkar's personality, knowledge morality and using knowledge and morality for the emancipation of the Indian society. And not only Indian society, the whole world. When he brings in universal principles of equality, liberty and fraternity, these are the universal principles. And this he did not take from French Revolution. Equality, liberty and fraternity. He said, no, मैं समता स्वतंत्रता बंधुत्व फ्रेंच रेवोल्यूशन से नहीं ले रहा हूं, मैं अपने मास्टर द बुद्धा से ले रहा हूं। और इसलिए साथियों उन्होंने कहा कि जो भाईचारा है, फ्रेटर्निटी है, वो ज्यादा इंपॉर्टेंट है। इक्वालिटी और लिबर्टी से ज्यादा जरूरी है फ्रेटर्निटी, क्योंकि इक्वालिटी के लिए यू कैन मेक लॉ, यू कैन मेक लॉ फॉर इक्वालिटी, यू कैन मेक लॉ फॉर लिबर्टी, बट यू कैन नॉट मेक ए लॉ फॉर फ्रेटर्निटी। यू कैन नॉट मेक ए लॉ फॉर फ्रेटर्निटी। आप ये नहीं कहेंगे कि नहीं हम आप धारा 144 के तहत आपको साथ में खाना खाना होगा। यू कैन नॉट से दैट। That has to evolve from the society and community. I think if we can make fraternity, we can make a strong nation. I think that's what I take from Baba Saheb Ambedkar's personality. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Professor Vivek Kumar, for telling us how great scholar, political thinker, social reformer, educationist Dr. B.R. Ambedkar was. We all know that Dr. B.R. Ambedkar was Dalit's Masiha, but very few of us know that he has contributed to all sections of our society, especially to women. We can avail maternity leave because of him, and we can avail right to vote just because of him, and we can avail equal wages just because of him, and we all can celebrate Sunday because of him. Now I would request